touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it. Favor, just touch all your seatbelts, touch all your connections, touch your Hans. Just make sure you get everything like you want it.
Alrighty, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening to some of you. And tonight we will be bringing you the Bathurst Rallycross race here tonight on the Bridge to Cup series. And starting on the front row, Dave Steele Jr. alongside Scott Speed. These two at the front rolling into a whole bunch of unknown tonight, as there's very little that we know is going to transpire. It's going to be an exciting one. Then you got Bradley Ream and Luis Rodriguez, Atley Weiss and Alan Malcolm, Krista Cower and Rich Roy, Adam Starr and Jack Davis, Lucas Holmes and Ryan Little, Gannon Bird and Anheuser Walkner, John Hagan and Cannon Gage, Braden Hunt and Spinham Walker, Andrew Moger and Roach, Asiel Escobar and Kyler Sestre, Kevin Xavier and Kyle Ottawa, Jamie Horseman and Kat Durham. You got Nadak Hagum alongside AJ Kosnoff. Ace Blake gets yet another opportunity here alongside Noah Hobson, as well as Wyatt Wilkinson with another start here, with Paul Ladino on the inside of him there. And at the very back, it is David Bird and Chasey Plays. 48 laps here around the Rallycross circuit. Race pace most likely looking to be about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes in duration here tonight. Of course, Dave Steele Jr. on the front row. That's always frightening sign for the rest of the competitors, as he has been dominant this year. He's already racked up 5 wins. But it's going to be interesting to see what Atley Weiss in that 84 can do about fighting back against the 35 of Dave Steele Jr. They're getting closer to the green flag waving here. Flagman starts waving it. Here we go. Down the long front straight here at Bathurst. Oh, Scott Speed drives it in way too hard there. Still settles into third. Not bad, not bad. Atley Weiss might be settling into fifth. right there in front of Alan Malcolm. And here we get into the dirt. So this is where it breaks up the standard status quo of the Bathurst circuit. And we're actually, quote unquote, climbing Mount Panorama, as you see. As they go sliding through the grass here, using every inch of the track that they can. Dave Steele Jr., Bradley Ream, and Scott Speed, your top three. Luis Rodriguez and Atley Weiss right behind them. You're going to start to see that some drivers have the advantage when it comes to the dirt. Some drivers have the advantage when they get back on the pavement. Forgot to disable cautions, which may have been a fault of my own, but hopefully no one wrecks. Don't have too many crazy chaos collisions. Everyone keeping it clean so far. They get up to about 180 and then have to slow all the way down to 60 here. Quite the transition of speed. One lap in the books here tonight. And Dave Steele, your initial leader from the start here. Looks like a battle brewing for 9th place with Jack Davis and Adam Starr. Keep an eye on this battle in the meantime. See what comes of it. Of course, with the 5 wins for Dave Steele Jr., that puts him at your current points leader. And recently, in the last couple of races, it was the Cadillac duo that worked themselves up to 2nd and 3rd of Cannon Gage and Gannon Bird. And just like that, they're running 14th and 15th. They're slowly and methodically going to work their way through the field here today and try to maximize points earned. It makes matters worse when they're the points leader is the one out front leading all the laps. There's a lot of racing. There's a lot that could transpire. Dave Steele so far with the fastest lap in the race because of the clear track that he has from starting on pole. Still, everyone coming through clean. Looks like we're going to finish a 2nd lap under competition here. There has been some announcements made in the silly season. This Bridge to Cup series, the manufacturer's changing it up a little bit. Not a whole lot. We'll still see some of the standard staples here in Bridge to Cup, but it's going to start to make a little bit more sense as we go along. One of the big announcements, however, was the fact that Hyundai is working their way up to the Sigma Cup Series for 2025. Jacob Schenkel Racing is going to bring them to prominence, or at least that's what the team hopes to do. And it's going to be interesting to see what Hyundai brings to the table once they start competing it up in cup races. But of course, it's going to have to be on the experimental manufacturer chain. So basically, what the experimental manufacturer groupings are, it's going to be the manufacturers that haven't had a permanent stamp in the series. And so for 2025, it's going to be 4 manufacturers fighting to be 2 permanent manufacturers in 2026. And honestly, that's where it's gonna pretty much polish up to where we have our 8 for quite a while. I don't see our big 8 moving around. So as it stands right now, we've got the big 4, which is Ford, Chevy, Dodge, and Honda. And based on performance that we've seen this season alone in the Sylvania Cup Series, Dodge and Jaguar are going to be manufacturer number 5 and manufacturer number 6. And so for 2025, we're actually going to have 10 manufacturers out there on track each week. The 4 experimental ones are going to have a battle within the championship to decide which 2 become the permanent and final of the top 8 in our Cup Series. To shake it up a little bit, it was going to be, it's been announced that Cadillac is going to try to host a Cup program in 2025, as well as Subaru, and then with Hyundai and Audi. So that will be your experimental manufacturer class for 2025. And with that, you can only have 2 cars per manufacturer. That way it gives a fair shake. That means the 2 Hyundais will have to perform better than the 2 Audis and perform better than the 2 Cadillacs and so on. It was supposed to be announced at the end of this season which 2 manufacturers are going to become permanent number 5 and permanent number 6. But we've seen with resounding dominance from Jaguar through the first quarter of the season, and Dodge pretty much holding as well up there with the battle, that it was kind of a no-brainer just to give 2024 a nod and say, hey, we're going to put Dodge and Jaguar as the permanent manufacturers that won from 2024. But that doesn't mean the end of the line for BMW and Mercedes, since those are the other 2 in that battle this season. They're going to be relegated down to this Bridge to Cup series. So BMW will get to field cars in this series, as well as Mercedes if they so desire. Correct, yeah, Chevy's still going to be in Cup. It's one of the big 4. Our big 4 before NASCAR, well, after the fact that NASCAR has been absent of a 4th manufacturer. Back in the days when it used to be Ford, Chevy, Dodge, and Pontiac, our 4 is 2 Japanese manufacturers and 2 American manufacturers with the likes of Ford, Chevy, Honda, and Toyota. Yet some could probably argue that Toyota has it's pretty much Americanized at this point, that you can consider it an American brand even though their headquarters is in Japan. It'll be interesting with the added flair of Hyundai to see what Korean motor productions can do in the Sylvania 2B Sigma Cup Series for 2025. so far, pretty much been follow the leader here tonight as Dave Steele Jr. holding a steady wheel at the front of the field. But do note that there's going to be pit stops, there's going to be strategies that pan out. So there's no guarantee that he's going to just walk away with it here tonight. Still no caution so far as we're 5 laps in of the 48 lap event. It is kind of exciting that they drive over the riverbed there. Not very realistic by most standards since you don't see any water spray and they're carrying about 100 miles an hour through the water and not losing any form of control. But ultimately, all the big changes kind of come as a clean slate of sorts to help ring in the new evolution of our series being the Sigma series for everything. We're still running under old banners right now here in 2024. The only series that is fully 100% under the Sigma name banner is the ARCA series, our Sigma ARCA series. USA Trucks is the Under Armour Super Ambush Truck Series, and eventually it will become the Sigma USA Trucks. It's not going to have any, the USA is not going to be an acronym anymore. It'll simply be, it'll be a name, the USA Trucks, which has always been catchy, and it gets people into the series with a catchy name like that. So it will become the Sigma USA Trucks, and anything where it would say Under Armour will transition over to saying Sigma on all the liveries. So this Bridge to Cup series, brought to you by Bridgestone, will just become the Sigma Bridge to Cup series, or the SBTC. Sigma, a lot like being a NASCAR name, it's just the Sigma is Speedster Interglobal Motorsports Association for our offline series of racing here. And then, of course, the Sigma Cup Series. Dave Steele not really driving away with it. He's keeping that that group behind him fairly close in his rear view mirror. Not doing that on purpose, obviously. He would love to stretch it out here. But Bradley Ream putting in some very competitive laps there in second. Luis Rodriguez, Scott Speed, and even Atley Weiss turning some quick laps there in fifth. We'll have to keep an eye on Atley here to see if he actually has anything for the 95. Still everyone running very clean. David Bird currently running dead last right now as Chasey plays in front of him. Nadak Hagam, Wyatt Wilkinson, Ace Blake, Pauladino, AJ Kosnoff, Kevin Xavier, Jamie Horseman, Kat Durham, Roach, Hobson, Escobar, Moger, Sestre, who's recently fresh off of his first career win here in the series. The laps really are clipping by pretty quickly here today, as we are now lap 7, now 8 of 48. Not a lot of passing going on. This is actually kind of a rather lackluster rallycross race. A lot of the rallycross races we've hosted are crazy. So this actually playing out more like a standard road course at the moment. Strategy, strategy, strategy is going to be the name of the game here today. These guys are going to have to make their first round of pit stops somewhere along the way, and that's going to sort of set them along the course of finishing this race and what position they may achieve. Okay, brief break there in the commentary, but haven't missed a whole lot. Still pretty much follow the leader as Dave Steele has led all the laps, 14 to be precise. We're closing up on pit stops here eventually. Bradley Ream in second, Scott Speed in third, and Atley Weiss made a move up into fourth. 48 of Luis Rodriguez drops back to fifth. And so really it's going to come down to how the pit stops shake things up here. Still no cautions, amazingly enough. These guys have been putting on a show, running solid laps competitively without wrecking. Still all 34 cars out there on track. Not a whole lot of movement in the back of the field as well as the front. Looks like Scott Speed could potentially start to close the gap to second place here. I think what we're seeing here today is really a separation of the the power behind each engine, each manufacturer here today. Clearly the 35 is on a whole nother level with that Subaru. The Mazda put together with good resources from TRD for this this Mazda. It's basically an alliance of sorts with TRD Motorsports. Great resources behind that ride. The BMWs, these two, both BMWs. I want to say they're teammates, if I'm not mistaken. Get a peep at the logo on. Yes, correct. Both of these drivers racing for Guido Piano. The BMWs here. Obviously, this is only Atley's second start this year in the Bridge to Cup campaign, but sitting in fourth, you can see that those BMWs have a little bit more muscle this week, especially at the road course. Then it's a pair of Dodges, which are going to be two different teams, but they're still under the same power plant. The lone Hyundai up here in the top 10. It's been a rough day for Hyundai, but Alan Malcolm besting the rest of them. Audi, and then another Subaru duo running out the top 10. Kind of teamed up. You got teammates back and running right by each other. Those two are teammates. Walker breaks up the Cadillac duo there as they were running 14th, 15th. And Spin Walker looking like he might take 14th place away. That had put them back together running 15th, 16th. And fast lap actually did change here during the running. Luis Rodriguez turned the fastest lap sometime during the last stretch. He turned a 207.0 and Atley turned a 207.2. They're both faster than the current leader of the Dave Steele Jr.'s third fastest. So and it's a battle. There we go. The 11 of Spin'em Walker takes the position here. Finds a spot to make a pass, where passing has been at a premium so far. Another opportunity for some passes to go down here as the 26 of Lucas Holmes might be taking a spot away from Krista Cower. Down the long, fast backstretch here at the track. This could get a little bit topsy-turvy. 26 going to carry it strong through the turn there. And they'll have the advantage on this left-hand turn. But then Krista with the advantage on the right-hand turn. Lucas Holmes loses the momentum that he had built up. And the two Subarus, now we got pit stops. And it looks like just about everyone coming down pit road here. So not a lot of room for error with the fuel mileage, the fuel numbers everyone has to meet. And it looks like very few, if any, have managed to stay out here. First taker on the overcut. It's going to be Wyatt Wilkinson here, who's going to stay out. This could backfire. You don't want to run yourself out of gas. You can see the two cars staying out, both without a sponsor on the hood. These are kind of our lower funded teams. So trying to spark something, get out, off strategy, off the beaten path, and try to make something happen. They all rejoin the track. Still Dave Steele, Bradley Ream, Scott Speed, Atley Weiss, and for the time being, up to 5th, Wyatt Wilkinson. He's going to have to pit, so that's not going to be his spot for long. But if there were to be a caution, which we do have cautions allowed, I did not disable them like I was planning on doing. He could totally dip down pit road if a caution came out here, and he would inherit a bunch of spots. But of course, you're still going to need that caution to wave. Which there could be a driver that's pushing it on gas right here that could run out of gas, and that would force a caution. Just hopefully it's not Wyatt Wilkinson that runs out of gas on this strategy. And there goes Wyatt Wilkinson and a couple of the others that stayed out. So they're going to be pitting on lap 18. Which means their last pit stop would come on lap 36. The rest of the field that pitted on lap 17, their last pit stop would come on lap 34. And they'll have easily 3 laps of fuel to the good. So in case you haven't noticed, our Bridge to Cup series kind of runs an intermediate length race. Our ARCA and Truck series, pretty much you'll see about 1 pit stop pretty much every race that they host. There will be at least enough distance to allow for 1 pit stop in a standard ARCA and a standard truck race. Bridge to Cup, on the other hand, we expand the length of the race just a little bit so that strategy starts to truly play a factor. A lot of racing, a lot comes down to strategy. And, I mean, with your shorter sprint races, that strategy kind of goes out the window. You get a little bit of strategy that plays out, but not to the manner of a race like this could totally make or break your overall finishing position based on what time you make your pit stop. So that's what was impressive to see those, the likes of Wyatt Wilkinson and Nadak Hagum stay out and stretch it a little bit further to try and get off strategy. Because you never know, we might get a caution on that next stint, and they could go an extra lap past what these guys are able to go, where they will be pitting on lap 34. Wyatt Wilkinson and Nadak Hagum could make it to lap 36. And that gives, a 2-lap wiggle room where if caution came out, that could catapult Wyatt Wilkinson into a decent finish here today. In the meantime, it's kind of a war of kind of a more so a chess game rather than a checkers game. As the three here, they're staying pretty close to each other, but Dave Steele Jr. kind of stumping them with the moves he's making, holding a very steady lead. By no means is he gone out front. He could lose 5 seconds with a mistake. Maybe a lap car gets in the way towards the end of the run. Not looking like lap traffic will be much of a factor here, but let's see, the lap times they're turning are about 2 minutes. And we're not even halfway, but the 21 is about 1 minute off the pace. So we will definitely see, if there's no caution, Dave Steele should catch the back of the field before the end of the race, and that could make things interesting. So here's to hoping we don't have a caution that affects that potential outcome. Well, 21 laps down, 27 laps to go. And Bradley Ream turning some fast laps with the tires that he's got on. Unfortunately, Dave Steele Jr. turning just a little bit quicker laps. Atley Weiss has caught up to the 95 of Scott Speed, and this could potentially become a battle for third. It is kind of an intriguing spectrum here as Atley Weiss drives for a different team. He's got his own team driver a couple spots ahead with the 19 of Bradley Ream. So you got to imagine it might be a little bit harder for Atley to execute a move on his team driver. It might actually pan out to where Atley's racing against his own car for a better finish here tonight. Dave Steele already has one win here in the month of May. So this could potentially be win number 2 in the month of May. But if we look, there's only one more week left of May that we've got racing. And after tonight, with Charlotte tomorrow for the Cup Series, then you've got the trucks at Pocono, the ARCA Series on the dirt at Orange County Fairgrounds, and then Bridge to Cup hitting Knoxville for a dirt short track. That's only going to be 4 more opportunities basically, for a driver to get a win here in the month of May. And no one has hit that third win to get the $5 gift card bonus that has been put together in the rewards program. This rewards program has been fun and exciting and has allowed for some more talking points during the races. So we'll probably see the rewards program come back. I'm thinking each May would be a fun way to do it, because May is honestly the most exciting month of racing every year when you have the Coke 600, the Indy 500, Monaco, and all of that wrapped into one at the end of the month. So we'll hold our own little festival of sorts with our month of May Madness rewards program. Atley here, he too has a win and looking for that second win here in the month of May. Dave Steele could get win number 2. But then you've got drivers like Scott Speed here, who's never won any races in Sigma competition. Bradley Ream, it's been a while since he's been to Victory Lane. He's been in Victory Lane USA Trucks Eastern Division. But that's almost been about a year now since his last win. So it's been a dry spell. Like his favorite driver, Joey Logano, he starting to rack up a winless streak of sorts. Even though Joey Logano did win the All-Star race, it didn't really count as a points-paying race, but still, there's some hope that Logano can get back to Victory Lane soon after the dominant performance at North Wilkesboro. And Bradley Ream actually closing the gap here. You can see he turned a 207 to Dave Steele's 208. We'll have to see what his lap time this time is. A 208 339, a 208 flat. Compare that to a 208.1. So Ream made some ground up and held serve that lap. So it seems that Dave Steele made a little bit of a mistake somewhere in that last lap to allow for the cushion to start to falter here. Bradley's only 4 seconds back. And it'd be interesting if this game actually had telemetry to let us know where a driver, what segments of this track they're making up that time. It would do us a lot of good at a road circuit like this, where there's a lot of opportunities for a driver to make speed where other drivers might lose speed. I'm liking how Bradley's using all the track given to him. He'll drive it into the grass if he has to. It's just a little bit more traction, I imagine. Maybe a little bit more traction in the negative direction. More so, what would be the word I'm looking for? Friction rather than traction. But he's making it work. That 19 car putting some competitive laps to try and catch the leader here. Atley still holding serve there in 4th, but potentially has something for his teammate here in 3rd. Dave Steele hits the hill at 180. Bradley Ream hits the hill at 182. And that could be a big difference there. That just momentum coming down the fast straightaway. Usually that's where separation happens, and a lot of times where closing the gap can occur as well. Dave Steele turned a 209.2, so the lap time's fallen off significantly for that 35 car. And yeah, 2 more tenths in the favor of Bradley Ream. Bradley Ream closing it up. Even Scott Speed and Atley Weiss catching up to Bradley Ream as well. So we could have 4 cars back in the mix here. I don't know if Dave Steele's maybe just safetying up a little bit, since he has such a resounding lead here. Lap 24, that marks halfway, so we'll go ahead and do a quick replay save here, just to be on our safe side. 15 of 30, part 1. Which, of course, that's just customary with our series. We'll save the replay at halfway for these longer races. And I've only really done that because when I first started the series, I would save the replay, and if the race was too long, it would cut out the first like 15 to 30 minutes of the race, because a lot of it, it has a cap on the size of file that it will save. And so if it gets past that cap, it'll just it'll save back to the last lap that it can. And so there came the point where I had to make a replay save partway through the race so that there wasn't any lost data for race replays and whatnot. It's amazing that I have replays dating all the way back to 2011. And apart from a few races that may have glitched out and totally, that you lost to the forever, I have basically every race chronicled from our series, whether that be the ARCA, Trucks, Bridge to Cup, or Cup, saved for, if you had to refer back to anything. So got a full library of every race in the books. And I still love how accidentally on July 7th, 2010, I hosted the 777. It wasn't known as that at the time, but the 777 annual on July 7th. So 7/7 of 2010 marked the inaugural Vegas race that I've basically turned into my own crown jewel. And then 2011, it fell on that same calendar day. And by 2012, I realized that I was onto something. And it's like, you know what? I got to keep rolling with it. And so came the concept in 2012 to do it as the 777 annual every year at Las Vegas. And it had been about like the first race, I was in the series. I ran my own, ran my own car, had my steering wheel hooked up to my computer, and it almost wasn't fair because I was competing against the AI, and I started racking up all these wins, and it's like, you know what? I'm not, that spectacular. I shouldn't be out there beating the AI and racking, padding my my win count to say. So by 2011, that's when I went to an all-spectator racing series so that I wasn't, padding my my win total. It didn't seem fair, and it wasn't as exciting to do it that way. So 2011, the first season where I put myself in an AI car and raced every race and watched every race rather than competed alongside the AI. And I guess as they sometimes say, the rest is history. I'm going off on a tangent here, and I apologize, but the point I was making, I guess, which I don't know if I was making much of a point at all. It's just amazing, on accident, how I created the 777 annual and it stuck, and the progress that it's evolved to what it is today. Once it was only a 400-mile race, and then I decided, hey, you know what, I'm gonna make it, 777 miles at Las Vegas. But I didn't realize that there was a mistake to be had by doing that, because the game actually stops counting laps after 512. And I remember this very vividly because it bummed me out that I'd sat there for about 4 hours watching them race at Las Vegas for 512 laps, and then once it hit lap 512, they just kept running circles. It never came to 513, never went to 514, never went to 515. It just stayed on 512. And they made infinite amounts of laps at that point. And I didn't know. I was like, what the heck? And so it was at that point I found out in the game's coding, a nice square number like 512, 1024, 2048, all those, it's a computer fraction. 512 was the cap amount of laps that any race could hold in this game. So came the inception that it would be 777 kilometers, which made me cringe a little bit because as an American, I didn't really want it to be 777 kilometers, but, to at least exercise the namesake of the race, I wanted it to be 777 something. Clearly, it wouldn't have ever been possible to have it 777 laps at Las Vegas. It would have stopped counting at 512. So yeah, in a couple months now, July 7th is going to roll around, and we're going to have that 777 annual race yet again. And since I've brought it to YouTube in 2022, it's becoming my favorite race to host each year. I was lucky to win it this last time out, which I've never won it before. My buddy Kellen won it, the inaugural Vegas July 7th race, back before it was the 777 annual. And back in 2010, it was 50 laps, and I was competing against the AI. So you might put an asterisk to that 2010 season. And if you put an asterisk to that 2010 season, technically I'd be 7 wins less to my win total. But anyways, that doesn't really matter. All that matters as the evolution of the series as it is has grown to be something very exciting. And the racing on track here tonight has not been all that exciting, but we do have it kind of coming to a front here as our leaders starting to close back up on each other. Atley Weiss duking it out with his teammate here, Scott Speed. It looks like Atley wants to get around him to take third. Dave Steele starting to stretch it back out a little bit on Bradley Ream. Ream turns, yeah, he's turning 209 just like Dave Steele is. And these guys turning 210s. If Atley can get by the 95 though, he might be a threat to start closing the gap even on Bradley Ream in second. Next round of pit stops about 7 laps away for these leaders, and it will be their last one here tonight. Still not a single caution here tonight. Every car still out there running. Lap traffic potentially going to be a problem here in about 10 laps, I'd say. Look at Atley close that gap as he's caught right up to the back bumper of the 95. Scott Speed there in third. Here we got a pretty bold battle between teammates. Atley almost giving the 95 a bit of a bump there. And Atley with just a little bit more pace in that 84, having to remain patient here for the time being. Once he gets by the 95, it's probably going to be smooth sailing. Lap times really have started to plateau here as Bradley Ream not really making up much ground. Atley goes way wide there through the dirt, and he's basically dirt tracking it at the moment, trying to find his way around the 95 of Scott Speed. Up to 5th, Jack Davis closing up. He's going to try to take an opportunity here, I think, to make a move on the 95. Not going to have an opening there. But they've actually slowly creeped their way up to Bradley Ream. You can see the gap starting to shrink between them to 2nd place. Bradley Ream falls to about 5 seconds behind the lead. These two sitting at about 10 seconds behind the lead. So the ultimatum for Atley here in the Bridge to Cup series. He inherits the points of the departed GP Luxembourg in that number 84, meaning that Atley Weiss currently sits in 17th in the points. But, however, to be eligible for the championship bracket at the end of the season, Atley is going to have to get at least one win between here and the regular season finale to be 100% vested and able to compete for that championship bracket here in Bridge to Cup. I can imagine the dirt track next week is going to be interesting as these guys take to Knoxville. Atley could be kind of a dark horse there. We got a couple more races before the regular season finale, of course. About 8 more races. So yeah, with Bathurst and Knoxville, then comes Talladega, which could be a true wild card. Lakewood, which is a dirt track of very interesting proportions. It's 1 mile. You've got a big lake in the middle where if something goes wrong, a driver could take a swim. Iowa, Glen Helen, which is a rallycross track. Williams Grove, another dirt short track. Kentucky, Circuit of the Americas. The Quarry, another rallycross track, and then Pocono. So I'm sure Atley has a couple of those races circled on his calendar and could be looking forward to getting a win here in Bridge to Cup to qualify for the championship. Here we go, Atley side by side with the 95. This is going to be a pass for position as Atley's going to settle into third. Now Atley's going to have his sights set on catching his own driver, the 19 of Bradley Ream. He's got about 5 seconds to close that gap. Scott Speed really falling off here now as he's getting passed by Jack Davis and Luis Rodriguez right there alongside of him. Nice thing about this track, having a lot of wide open spaces to make passes. You're not seeing a lot of crazy shenanigans. Ace Blake currently running in dead last here. Interestingly enough, the 39 of Wyatt Wilkinson's actually made up some spots into 26th. So the overcut strategy is paying off in the fact that he's got a lap fresher on tires and is able to run faster laps while the rest of them are falling off. If we look up to the 39, he's currently turning 210s. He's a full second faster with just 1 lap fresher tires. So imagine the difference if he has 2 laps fresher tires on this last pit stop coming around lap 36. It means he'll have about 12 laps of competition to use those tires and truly get the most of the advantage. Look at that, more people pulling down earlier this time, not even making it to lap 34. We're going to have to see if it includes our leaders, which I doubt. I think they'll push it as far as they can to lap 34. Yep, Dave Steele. Wow, Atley, I think, pitted. Second is Scott Speed. Luis Rodriguez in third. So Atley pulling the undercut here to get down pit road as quickly as possible to try and get the advantage of fresher tires versus the leader of Dave Steele Jr. If Dave Steele stays out even 2 laps, that could be about the swing of about 5 seconds that he could lose to the faster tires from Atley Weiss having pitted. So clearly, a lot's gotta pan out here. Atley needs to make sure he's got clean track in front of him, which, as I'm skimming through the field, here he is. He's got pretty much clear track in front of him after making his pit stop. So this could be a game-changing pit stop from the 84 of Atley Weiss. And it didn't take long. Dave Steele had to pit this time, or else he was going to give up too much time to Atley Weiss. It's going to be all, made or lost on the pit stops here today. 95, Scott Speed's going to stay out 1 more lap here. Dave Steele needs to make sure he has an expedient pit stop here and avoid any uncostly mistakes. Dave Steele rejoins the track here. And it's going to be a getting up to speed lap, of course. It's going to take him a little bit more time to get those tires rubbered in. Bradley Ream made his pit stop, and it looks like he's going to start closing that gap down on Dave Steele Jr. But unfortunately, some of the traffic here is going to throw a little bit of a curveball as we've got a caution. Oh, ho, ho. There is the big money move as the caution comes out during pit stops there to see exactly what the caution is for. But this mixes it all up, and I think, honestly, it's going to look good for Bradley Ream and Atley Weiss since they've already pitted. They're not going to have to pit again. It's pretty much going to pan out to Dave Steele Jr. leading, but with Bradley Ream and Atley Weiss close behind him. So the caution waves, we'll see. Was it a bogus debris caution? I don't see any cars. Oh, there we go. The 29 of Rich Roy, I think, might have run out of gas. No, it was a brake failure from the 29. So the stalling on track, 29 Rich Roy brings out the caution. And what a time to bring out that final caution. Heck, I think Wyatt Wilkinson's probably going to be the big winner in all this. Since his strategy has worked him up to 19th, now he can pit with the rest of them and not lose as much track position. Most of these leaders are going to have to pit. Scott Speed, we know, has to pit as he stayed out that last lap when Dave Steele pitted. And if people start running out of gas here, that could really put a wrinkle in the outcome here tonight. Plus, we've got a double file restart on tap. There's a lot that could happen here. Yep, just as I mentioned, your guys that pitted are going to stay out here. Those that did not pit are going to have to pit, and this is going to truly set this race up for a very exciting finish. But these guys that are pitting now, they're going to have the advantage of fresher tires coming down pit road. And if we look, Dave Steele, Bradley Ream, Atley Weiss, Jack Davis stay out. That's really only 4 cars at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it looks like 15 of the cars were able to pit before the caution came out. And that means about 18 of them are having to pit right now under the caution. And so the worst that they're going to return to the track will be in 16th here. Which, of course, Scott Speed comes out first. He'll be 16th. Luis Rodriguez, 17th. Lucas Holmes, Anheuser-Walkner, Cannon Gage, Braden Hunt, Kyle Ottawa, Noah Hobson, Jamie Horseman, Kat Durham, Ace Blake, Wyatt Wilkinson, Paul Ladino, Nadak Hagum, Osiel Escobar, John Hagan coming out nearly dead last, Ryan Little, Adam Starr, Krista Cower, and Rich Roy still on track but dead last after having a brake failure. It seems like they got the damage fixed and they're going to rejoin the race here. So 33rd, 32nd, 31st, 30th. John Hagan sits in 30th. 29th, 28th, 27th, and Wyatt Wilkinson basically returns back into 26th place where he was running before the caution came out. He'll have fresh tires, so likely going to see that 26 putting together a late race charge here. 25th, Ace Blake. 24th, Kat Durham. 23rd, Jamie Horseman. 22nd, matching the number on the door, Noah Hobson. 21st, Kyle Ottawa. 20th, Braden Hunt. 19th, Cannon Gage. 18th, Anheuser-Walkner. 17th, Lucas Holmes. 16th, Luis Rodriguez. Wow, Scott Speed, from being running in the top 5 here today, gets shuffled all the way back to 15th. However, he has fresher tires than all the folks in front of him. So this could get very interesting as Scott Speed got the advantage, didn't get a penalty for pitting because of the caution, when most of the other drivers had to take the penalty of pitting under green flag competition. Scott Speed gets to settle into 15th here and has fresher tires than everyone. 14th, Chasey Plays. 13th, matching the door number there, David Bird. 12th, Gannon Bird. 11th, AJ Kosnoff. 10th, Roach. 9th, Kevin Xavier. 8th, Spinham Walker. 7th, Alan Malcolm. 6th, Andrew Moger. 5th, Kyler Sestre. 4th, Jack Davis. 3rd, Atley Weiss. 2nd, Bradley Ream. And of course, your leader, Dave Steele Jr. But in case any of you are tuning in, don't go anywhere. The pace car, the lights should be going off here soon, I imagine. With it being a road course, it's about halfway around the track when the lights will turn off and we'll get doubled up for this late race restart. There's really no good way to speed up or accelerate the race when it does this. My accelerate button is basically broken anymore in NR2003. It'll speed through the entire race and not let you, kind of hand pick the accelerate rate. So go ahead and I don't want to be trapped running another pace lap, so I'm gonna do. Okay, I didn't crash the game, thank goodness. Okay, we're doubled up for the restart here. Saved ourselves going a whole nother lap under caution. On the restart, Dave Steele Jr. is going to have the inside line over the 19 of Bradley Ream. This is fixing to get entertaining here, folks. Gotta imagine even Kyler Sestre in 5th with his win last race could still be hungry for another win here today. lap traffic erased. There's no chance of lap traffic becoming a factor here tonight, as we're going to get the green flag restart with 13 laps to go here. And it's truly going to be a mad dash to the finish. Tires are going to become a factor. You've got drivers from 15th on back with 2 laps fresher tires than everyone. Your leaders have been up front dominating all day today so far. Fortunately, the pace car did not get the memo, because I did not take the pace lap off in time, but we'll see how this all pans out. Three wide. Wow, Dave Steele Jr. loses the lead, and it's Bradley Ream out front right now. That was crazy of a restart, as you saw them all fan out. That almost looked like a Formula One start, the way a rolling start versus a standing start. That looked a lot more like a standing start, even though it was a rolling start. Still, no wrecks have happened here tonight. It's amazing how clean these guys are racing. They're putting on a stellar show. Great expert racing going on. Seems that Kyle Ottawa may be out of gas. Nope, flat tire on that 81 car. Pace car's still out there, so that's a little bit sketchy. It's my own fault for taking a pace lap away without it truly. Let's just hope, knock on wood, that I didn't just upset the whole apple cart. Dave Steele fighting back now as he wants to get that lead back from Bradley Ream. Seems that Atley doesn't have quite the starting power as some of these other guys do on a restart. Seems to have a long run car that comes together later in the run. Unfortunately, in the initial start of a restart, Atley's struggling a little bit to make up the difference. Jack Davis in third. Heck, even Atley's duo of teammates, the 78 of Andrew Moger, right there behind him. So he's got Bradley Ream leading the way and Moger sitting in fifth. So a double top 5 for the TRD teammates. And here we have Bradley Ream turned a 208.1. Dave Steele Jr. turned a 208.6. But I don't think that's very indicative of how fast that 35 actually is. He had a rough start, getting a little bit woed up with the pace car, but came back around and is slowly closing the gap back up on this 19 car. And truly, some great parity as we've got Mazda leading over a Subaru, over a Dodge, and a BMW. And you got Cadillac starting to work their way up here too, as Gannon Bird sits in 6th right now. Just a matter of time before he cracks into the top 5. Here, our leaders are going to catch the pace car once again. So we'll see how this all plays out. This could get funky, as the pace car, it is a ghost car, so they can run right through it. But they treat it as a sitting roadblock here, as they still have to work their way around it. Man, Gannon Bird gets, unfortunately, the worst end of that, as all these drivers swerving to avoid the ghost pace car here. Kind of interesting, actually. And now they're catching them on the fast straight, so this is going to be pretty quick and easy. Wow, the 50 just catches. Whoa! Well, no wrecks. Just a lot of crazy racing there as everyone gets by the pace car. 11 laps to go here at the Bathurst Rallycross track, and 4 cars still very much within range of keeping it interesting here. Atley, Jack Davis, Bradley Ream, and Dave Steele Jr. So still truly a 4-car fight for the win here today. Jack Davis has won a couple races this season. Both wins have come on road course style tracks, and he's very deep in the point. So Jack Davis, with 2 wins on the season, sits in 11th in the points. So he's slowly climbed his way out of the bottom of the barrel. But it's been a tough season, as he's had 5 DNFs to match his 2 wins. And it's been kind of just an anomaly of seasons for Jack Davis. 1 win came at the road course of Willow Springs International Raceway, and then his first win of the season came at the Daytona road course way back at the start of the year. So this 09 car seems to find just the right amount of oomph to hit victory lane when it comes to these road course events. Crazy how that restart upset the apple cart for Dave Steele Jr., who has led every lap up to the restart. And now it's been Bradley Ream with the fortunes turning his way. Dave Steele not really making up much of the ground here. Bradley putting a good showing here out front. Makes a huge difference when you get that clean air and you can just drive away from the rest of the field. 10 laps remaining, and it's about to get down to the nitty-gritty here. Wow, so Paul Ladino is now running 34th. Kyle Ottawa in 33rd. Man, our drivers that had some troubles didn't even go a lap down, so they're able to get it towed and keep it on the lead lap, amazingly enough. Man, John Hagan fighting from the bottom of the field here. It's a tough pill to swallow for one of the guys that's been a contender throughout the season so far. Here we've got a hornet's nest with Wyatt Wilkinson and Ace Blake fighting against Osiel Escobar. That would be for at least 23rd 23rd, 24th, 25th, I think. This is really where you start to see the advantage of tires, too. I'm amazed Nadak Hagum making a bold move here on Wyatt Wilkinson. Wilkinson's going to hold the position away from the 50 there. Ooh, the 50 overdrove it through the turns. Unfortunately for everyone from 15th on back, oh wow, the 78 making an unscheduled pit stop. 78, didn't say anything about a mechanical failure for the 78. That's just a tough break for Moger, who was running as high as 6th there. Back to the drawing board for that team, I guess, as his teammate Bradley Ream still leads over Dave Steele Jr. But this has truly turned into a spirited battle for the win here this evening. Dave Steele Jr. was hoping to knock out his second win here in the month of May, but now has a little bit of adversity to conquer that task. Bradley Ream would love to break a winless drought that has spanned almost a year at this point. That number 19 Mazda, it's going to help boost morale for that team. It's going to give them a new lease on life, getting towards a championship battle towards the end of the season where they could be contenders. And to just simply let me say this, to straight up beat Dave Steele Jr. is no easy task. We've seen it where Dave Steele Jr. goes out there, leads every lap, and wins the race. So for Bradley Ream to be doing this right now, and also holding off that 35 and the charges that are coming behind him, this win could amount to being one of those top wins for a driver in their early career. This could open the floodgates to so many successful runs going forward. But you can't count your chickens before the eggs hatch, because there's still 8 laps to go. Jack Davis, Atley Weiss turning fast laps. They're closing up the gap. So who knows if they'll be contenders in this mix before it's all said and done. Dave Steele closing the gap. Man, it's like watching a slinky at the front of the field here as these guys close up, spread out. This is the tightest they've been all night long. We had a long stretched out green flag that really spread the field, and this, given as much of the room that they've made up here, it's turning into an enticing battle for the win. Looks like Atley made a mistake there through the segments. Either that or Jack Davis just really had one hell of a lap, as he is right there on Dave Steele Jr. for second. And I think it's the latter. I think Jack Davis just had one hell of a lap there, catching up to the 35. And so this battle for the win really getting interesting. Almost feel like Atley's got a little bit of trouble with his tires right now. Not putting as fast the laps down as those 3 in front of him. But perhaps just waiting, kind of biding his time, seeing what happens with these 3. Perhaps the 3 of them will end up getting rowdy and taking each other out. A lot akin to our Darlington race just a couple weeks ago, where Brad Keselowski came out victorious as the other 2 raced in front of him, taking each other out. So that could still pan out here. They're tight. The battle's getting very exciting. None of them have made mistakes yet, but there's always the possibility. Seven laps to go here tonight. Ooh, Dave Steele has closed the gap up again. And he gets a little bit loose there and loses some traction. Here comes Jack Davis. Jack Davis with a good run right on the back bumper of the 35 here in a moment. Oh, 35 gets way loose, and the 09 is there to capitalize. Man, I called it. I said that 09 would be on the back bumper of the 35. It almost didn't look like it was going to happen, but that 09 is pressuring the leaders here. He is trying to give it everything he's got. Jack Davis could be our perennial road course ringer this year. The funny part is, this being a rallycross track, it's not technically a road course, but it's really racing like a road course here today. Even with the different tractions that they're hitting, the dirt and the pavement, a lot like a road course. Down to 6 laps remaining now. This three-dog fight at the front is very, very crazy close. All in the meantime, Bradley Ream just making them look like chumps behind him as he continues to hold that lead. Of course, the leader sets the pace, so even if Bradley Ream checks up here, 35 gets a little bit out of sorts. The 09 with an opportunity to pounce. It's looking like it's going to happen again here. The 09 with one hell of a run. Gets alongside Dave Steele. That could open up the door for Atley Weiss. As you see, the 09 takes second place for the first time tonight. What a charge from Jack Davis. Dave Steele goes wide there again, and this is now a three-dog fight for second place. Seems like Dave Steele probably wishes that there had never been a caution here tonight, as he was looking to walk away with it. That long run pace kicking in for some of these drivers. Like I mentioned earlier, Atley Weiss has definitely a long run setup. Seems like Jack Davis too has a long run setup in that car. Bradley Ream loves seeing this in his rear view mirror as these three continue to fight it out. That's only given Ream more of a lead. Still no other cautions to speak of. Everyone's still very clean racing out there. All 34 cars still in competition. I'm amazed that the one that had a brake failure was able to call a tow truck, get it fixed, and still return out there on the lead lap. That's almost that never happens. It's almost unbelievable. Yeah, the 29 of Rich Roy with the brake failure. If we look now, Rich Roy still out there, and he's running 30th overall. Wyatt Wilkinson now up to 23rd as he gets by Ace Blake for position. Those fresher tires truly are kind of factoring in at the end of the run. Oh, here goes Atley. Atley goes alongside Dave Steele. I don't think he's going to be able to complete the pass this time, but you can tell that 35 struggling here in the latter stint of the race. Went from having this race in the bag to letting the cat out of the bag. Even Bradley Ream isn't 100% locked into this. It's playing out to where Jack Davis could slowly close the gap here. Atley Weiss really is going to need to get by that 35 as soon as possible to have a shot here tonight. Here we go, Atley making a bold move in a spot of the track that we haven't seen very many passes executed. Atley gets the job done, and like I was saying, needed to get that job done as soon as possible, as 35 was somewhat slowing him down. Now Atley Weiss with clear little gap here to the 09. He might be looking to fight for second. Might be playing blocker here to try and help his teammate get the win. If he can get up to that 09 and keep the 09 away from Ream, it's going to be a win either way for Atley if that 19 can get it done. Three laps to go here, and Jack Davis is eerily close to that 19. Atley not catching up as quickly as he's hoping. But don't count him out. Dave Steele a little bit further in the distance. Ooh, look at Atley making one hell of a charge there, getting some of the distance closed to the 09. This was where he executed the move last time to get by Dave Steele, was in this very technical track. That 84 seems to have something figured out through this segment of the track. And he closes the gap a little bit more to the 09. Ooh, the 09 goes wide there. This is going to give Atley very much a good shot at fighting for second here. Now, if Atley's going to have anything for the win, I'm not so certain of that. Bradley Ream has not put a wheel wrong leading this race. And laps truly are working against Atley, as there's only going to be a couple laps left this next time by. Here comes the long, long backstretch. If you pair them up, they're running very comparably the same lap times through the fast technical section here. Closes up. They're going to get back into the throttle, fighting through this very technical S section of the track. Bradley Ream is going to lead with 2 laps remaining in the race. And Atley is right there. The fruit is ripe for the taking. Atley actually turned the fastest lap that time at 2:09.7. The 2 leaders in front of him turned a 2:10. Could this just be a game of cat and mouse? And Atley the cat, the 2 in front of him, a mouse. How unfortunate would that be that your teammate is the mouse that you're fighting against? Yeah, Atley's going to have something coming into that spot that he made the pass last time. It's going to slow him up. They're slowed up here. He's not going to be able to catch the 19 as they're starting to lose traction on the 19. But coming through this segment, we saw Atley make a pass a couple laps ago. He's going to try to do it again on the 09. Rather do it again, but this time with the 09. Not getting it done. The 09 starts to stretch it back out. But the game is on here. The race heating up for the win. Any 3 of these drivers would be amazing. I mean, Bradley Ream, would be huge for him to finally kill that winless streak that started to grow. Jack Davis would be an interesting one because not many people expected to see him in winning fashion like this year. Ooh, Atley's going to let the horses eat on the backstretch here. Long, long, speedy section. He's going to drive it in deep. But Jack Davis is going to drive it in deeper. Atley's going to have the inside advantage here. He's going to take second. Not quite, as Jack Davis muscles around back to get second. Ultimately, that side-by-side racing has allowed Bradley Ream to really stretch it out now. 2 laps remaining. 47 to 48. They'll see the white flag next time they come by here. But is that all she wrote for the contenders here? Man, Atley has got a faster car. If he could get clear of the 09, I think things could get interesting here. Wyatt Wilkinson, give a shout out to him as he's worked his way up to 20th now. Even better, he just catapulted 3 spots up to 17th. So kudos to the 39. I think strategy has helped him in that case. Having the fresher tires late at the end of a run is prevailing for that 39 team. In a young career, that 39 car, you might see more of that driver going forward. His prowess in ARCA has not gone unnoticed, earning him a couple one-off starts here in Bridge to Cup. Atley starting to peter out here. I almost wonder if that was his plan, was to get racy with the 09 and throw him off the scent to get that 09 away from his teammate, his team driver there in the lead. I'm amazed we don't see more mechanical failures with them hitting that rev chip going down that long, fast hill. You'd think that more of these cars would be having mechanical failures by blowing the engine or something. White flag waving in the air here at Mount Panorama, the Bathurst Rallycross circuit. Wyatt Wilkinson's in 17th, so let's see if he's going to knock out a couple more spots here. Yeah, he's got quite an empty track in front of him. He's going to have to be running a lot faster than the folks in front to catch up. These will be all the guys that stayed out. Or rather, yeah, stayed out on the caution. 26 goes far wide there. Lucas Holmes struggling a little bit. Still opportunity for Wyatt Wilkinson to maybe make up another spot or two before the end of it. And this battle at the front has settled down. It seems like Bradley Ream starting to really put the last nail in the coffin. That 19 team just short of getting that monkey off their back. Atley goes wide there. I don't know if that's quite the fast lane to go that wide. Jack Davis gonna need a Hail Mary trip to the end zone to make this happen. That 19 not making any mistakes. Last big stretch of open road for these guys as they're going to stretch their legs and roam for one last time around the track, hitting a peak speed of 193 miles right there, slowing all the way down to 60 once they get to this turn. Jack Davis is not going to have enough to make it matter. Atley Weiss in third, Dave Steele in fourth. But the big deal is Bradley Ream coming around the last turn here as the checkered flag waves in the air. Bradley Ream is going to get the monkey off his back and seal the deal here at Mount Panorama. And breaks a long winless streak that now continues, at least reignites the spark of competition from that driver. Been a rough spell, but you know, win is like medication. A lot of good comes from it. The momentum is going to start coming his way here. It's been a solid start to the season. He's had a few opportunities to almost get the win. And it just so happens that he was able to put all the pieces together to finally make it happen. The rest of the field cycles around to get their finishing order sorted here. Ace Blake comes home 19th. Wyatt Wilkinson with a 17th place finish. Not bad for a couple one-off starts for this young driver. He could have had a top 15 if things went a little differently there, but 17th is nothing to be disappointed in. Midfield, 34 cars, you finish in the halfway point, so you're not a full-time driver and you're putting together solid runs like that, you'll be a full-time driver before long. Well, alrighty. Let's get the everything finalized here. Perfectly at halfway through our entire season of Bridge to Cup action, as race 15 of 30 is now in the record book. Huge congrats to Bradley Ream getting the job done. Jack Davis coming home second. Atley Weiss coming home third. Dave Steele Jr. fourth. Spinham Walker, Kyler Sustre, Gannon Bird, Luis Rodriguez, Roach, and Alan Malcolm. Then you had Chasey Plays, AJ Kosnoff, David Bird, Cannon Gage, and Lucas Holmes. Noah Hobson, Wyatt Wilkinson, Krista Cower, Ace Blake, Nadak Hagum, Rich Roy, John Hagan, Andrew Moger, Kevin Xavier, Anheuser Walkner, Kyle Ottawa, Braden Hunt, and what a tough break for Scott Speed, who looked like he had a top 5 run going here today, and he gets 28th overall. Further down the list, you've got Kat Durham, Osiel Escobar, Jamie Horseman, Adam Starr, Ryan Little, and Paul Ladino, dead last. And so that is a wrap tonight, folks. It is the dawn of the Coke 600 for our Sylvania Cup Series. And I was going to get some stuff sorted out here tonight so that we can be prepped and ready for the 600 miler tomorrow night. A few more entries are going to be tallied into the equation. So I'm going to run a non-broadcasted sprint qualifier to determine the final entries for the Coke 600 tomorrow. We're going to have the likes of John Hagan, Jeffrey Gerald, and even like Kevin Xavier, to name a few, that are going to be trying to make the main lineup. And I'll post that on the server once we get the sprint qualifier in the books. But hopefully we can get plenty in for tomorrow's broadcast for the Coke 600. It'll be a long one, but it'll be a prestigious one. And it's going to be exciting to see if Al Bunch, Atley Weiss, or Kellen Relic, some of the names that have been big this season, if they can get one of those wins to their name at the Coke 600. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Congratulations again to Bradley Ream on getting the monkey off his back. And hopefully everyone out there have a good night, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next one. This is Jakester signing out.